Okay.
This isn't a policy question, but it's based on the CNN poll last week, where we saw for the first time the majority of Americans opposed additional congressional funding for the war in Ukraine. So I'm just wondering what the administration's response is to that, if you guys are concerned about what appears, based on this poll at least, to show that the majority of Americans are just not, fully there when it comes to the need for continued support to Ukraine.
So I think this is the first time I've been asked about a poll in my short time at the tenure, and I should probably not make it a practice to comment on specific polls, but I will note that it is always dangerous to look at any one poll because they are snapshots in time and you can see other ones. I will say that we have been heartened by the support from the American people and the support, the bipartisan support we've seen in Congress for further assistance to aid Ukraine in defending its people from Russian aggression. That support has been longstanding. It has been there since the beginning of the war, and we expect it to continue.
And do you think, though, that the administration is doing an effective job at keeping the American people's support, substantial for continued support if we're starting to see numbers like this?
Again, I'm just not going to comment with respect to a poll, but I will say that we will continue to make the case that it is in the interest of the United States to defend Ukraine. It is in the interest of the United States to see that democracy is preserved. It is in the interest of the United States to see that Russian aggression has to be answered. And so we will continue to make that case, and I will let polls speak for themselves. Well, I guess polls don't speak for themselves, but I will let the polls stand as they may be. But we will continue to engage with Congress, where we have seen robust bipartisan support. Yes, and you do see dissenting voices, but overall we've seen bipartisan support for continued support for Ukraine, and we will continue to push for that.
And just staying on Ukraine for 1 second, last week the department put a readout of the meetings that state, NSC, and DoD had with Ukraine regarding long-term security negotiations and agreements between the U.S. and Ukraine. Do you have any idea as to when that kind of structure for long-term support for Ukraine is actually going to come to fruition, when we'll see announcements on that? Is that something that's happening anytime soon, or are we 3 to 6 months away from that?
I don't have a date. I wouldn't want to put a time frame on it because we were in the middle of those conversations. But in the conversations that we had with our Ukrainian counterparts, we did agree to follow-up meetings. I don't have a date to announce about when those meetings will occur, but there will be follow-up conversations between the United States and Ukraine. And I should note that the conversations, the bilateral conversations between the United States and Ukraine are just one part of this process. The other members of the G7 are having their own bilateral conversations about how they can assure Ukraine's long-term security. And there are 12 other countries that signed on to that statement of support who will also have their own bilateral conversations. So put together, this is a multi-country effort to assure Ukraine's long-term security. I don't have a time frame on when we'll have next steps to announce, but it's something we're pursuing aggressively.
Do you think Ukraine will see those long-term security commitments by the end of the year?
I just wouldn't want to put a time frame on it.